Good afternoon and welcome to S24 Insight. Today, we are not starting with political party. We're starting with movement. Across Nigeria, something is shifting. Politicians with movement. Across Nigeria, something is shifting. Politicians are moving. Citizens are watching. Parties are recalculating. And young people are asking. Citizens are watching. Parties are recalculating. And young people are asking uncomfortable questions. And 2027 is beginning to look less like a distant election and more like a political battlefield already forming in slow motion. Before campaign posters flood the streets, before rallies begin, before slogans take over our screens, Nigeria is already witnessing the early signs of what may become one of the most important political realignments since 1999. But the real question is, are Nigerian politicians changing ideology or simply changing vehicles for power? Ahead of 2023 general elections, Nigeria had more than 93.4 million registered voters, according to INEC figures reported at the time. Yet only about 26.7% of registered voters participated in the presidential election, one of the lowest turnouts since Nigeria's return to democracy in 1999. That number tells us something deeper than voter apathy. It tells us that trust is bleeding. The Electoral Act 2022 created a stronger legal foundation for technology in elections, including the use of beavers and result management reforms. But the 2023 elections also exposed the painful truth. Technology can support democracy, but it cannot replace the trust, integrity, logistics, transparency, and political responsibility. Now, as Nigeria moves towards 2027, we are seeing new conversations around opposition platforms, defections, coalitions, alternative parties, citizens' frustration, and the search for political credibility. And joining us today is Dr. Obinna Ebirim, a medical doctor, public health physician, governance advocate, and political actor whose professional journey cuts across health systems, youth development, public policy, and democratic engagement. Dr. Ebirim, welcome to Spotlight on S24 television. Oh, I see S24 Inside, I beg your pardon.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. And
Let's start with something really genuine. You are a medical doctor and then into governance, politics, and you recently left APC to the NDC. Let's talk about that. It's two sides of a coin, medical practice and politics. What does that mean to you?
My journey is very interesting. So I began as a doctor in a health clinical setting, and then I moved on to working in public health space, which includes, so part of public health is policy, right, health policy. And then my last role was supporting the Minister of Youth as a senior advisor in youth health. So, now I'm an aspirant for one of the political parties. So it's a journey. And I don't think it's really two opposite sides, because I'll give you an example. When we had the COVID-19 pandemic, it affected all facets of our lives, the economy, the way of life, even our culture, even our religion, the way we worship. So it then shows the importance of health, right? And health policy. And I dare to say that the problem of Nigeria at the moment, it's not the number of doctors, not is the health problems. It's about the health system. How strong is the health system? How well is the health system financed, right? And so it means that you need doctors, you need those with public health experience, especially policy experience in the political space, right? And that is one of the things I'm putting myself for. So I will not agree that they are both sides of the coin. But then also, as you rightly said, I just moved on from the APC to the NDC. And I'm going to tell you the reason. It's quite simple. I joined the APC in 2014, about 12 years ago.
Over a decade.
Yes, over a decade ago. And one of the things that made us, and that was when the APC was formed as a coalition of various political parties, we had a clear vision then, which was positive change. And it's clear in our slogan, change, right? But what we saw was, over time, we deviated from that vision. And I dare to say that when I defected from to the NDC, and a lot of people who were in my community who respond to my comments, my posts, I saw comments which showed that the APC has gone so far from the people. And this is not just, you can go to my social media page. A lot of people actually stopped talking to me.
Because of the APC?
Because of the APC. Someone said he was my hater. That it was so, imagine using that hard word. That was the words I was saying. And as someone who was inside, what did I see? So the first 8 years in the APC, we thought we wanted a man of integrity, and we backed a man who we thought was a man of integrity. But what we saw was that personal integrity does not transcend to integrity in leadership. Because as John Maxwell said, leadership is ability to influence. So you can have personal integrity. But for it to be integrity in leadership, you must influence those, your followers, those that are working for you, right? That is what we saw.
That is deep.
So when we didn't see that, we're disappointed. But we thought we should continue being in the APC. And then the last 3 years or 4 years, about 2 to 3 years, we then thought, okay, the major problems is now economy. Let's get in someone who has an economy or finance or accounting related degree and experience. But over the last 2-3 years, what we've seen, in my opinion, is a poor management of the economy. A situation whereby MDAs are not getting their capital budget. In fact, nobody can even answer the question, where is the money? Right? And then you see a situation whereby beyond the capital budget is not there, all the economic indices are quite poor. But then there's a lot of savings. There's a narrative that we've met our revenue targets. But then you can't fund your budget. Right? So it left some of us at a point where we felt like, oh, we preached positive change, but I dare to say, in my own opinion, I stand to be corrected. What we are seeing was negative change. And at the other end, my community was totally shifting away from the government. So I found myself in a situation whereby I was in the government and I was far from the people. And as a person, my desire to be in political space or be in public service is to serve the people. So a situation whereby I'm in a place that is so far from the people, where people are now antagonistic about me because I'm there, I had to leave. And I left to a party that now aligns with my ideology. And what is the ideology? They have a mantra, service to the people. And that is what
do you think truly that NDC would serve the people?
Yes, I strongly think, because I've not been there for a long time, but I've seen some of the indicators. So a good example is that the other day we picked our nomination form. I didn't have to go to the old process of going to somewhere and all that. I went online, I registered. In fact, my registration, I've not done any physical paper registration of. I just did it online, and it gave me a point where I printed my membership card with all the numbers there, and a copy was also sent. My login was sent into my inbox, and when I wanted to pay, I went to the bank. In fact, I made a transfer and had to print out. I actually went to the bank so I can get the printout, and I uploaded it, and my form came. Right, and we are also seeing the choice of, they are not where I'm coming from, where there's a lot of ambiguity. Today is this or that. They are clear about their zoning. This is where they've zoned these two. And if you're coming in, so I see hope. And then also in their choice of the aspirant is someone that over the years have been very, very consistent. And I am certain to a high degree, I know people are humans, but I'm certain to a high degree, and I'm confident to stand with this party, because I believe that if their flag bearer is elected as president, we're going to see a shift from the mismanagement of the economy, a shift from the lack of prudence in management of our resources, the waste we are seeing across board in this country. And it's not just about the presidency. And some people most times try to say, oh, it's about the federal level, even at the state level. We saw the other day in the news, I don't know how valid that is, that subnational leaders were taking money from the FARC for election purposes without the legislation to back it up. That is
allegedly.
Allegedly, that's what we heard, right?
Yes.
That is what we heard. If that is true, that is gross management of the common resources. And even to make it worse, the news we're hearing, I don't know how true it is, that even the pool where they put the resources in, they cannot find the resources, which is, so it means that they cannot account to us, and they can't even account to themselves as leaders. So that situation is something that for people like us that came into politics and public service to serve the people genuinely, we cannot be seen to identify with that party. And I think that, in fact, my exit was even later in the day. I should have done that early. But as I believe in life, it's never late to do the right thing.
And there is time for everything as well.
Yes.
With your experience over 12 years or 12 years in political space, starting with the APC, what do you think is changing politically in Nigeria today?
I think that there is now increased awareness. When we started 12 years ago, people looked at politics as a dating game. They looked at it as something that professionals shouldn't get involved in. It was more about people maybe who could not furthermore in the area, in their technical or professional life, and they decided to go around. But what we're seeing today, which is a shift, is that more people are getting involved. And then professionals also getting involved. They're now saying that politics cuts across various spheres of our lives, and that your being there is a service, leveraging on the experience you've garnered over the years in your work, in what you studied. Yeah, so that's something that have changed. And also, I think that the space has also widened a bit. Before now, we used to have only either your PDP or APC or whatever opposition, because over the years there have been various oppositions. But right now, we are seeing that there are bigger parties, some other parties springing up. So right now, in the last election, we had the LPs, we have the NMPP, we had the APC and the PDP. And right now, the space has even opened up a bit. And parties like ours, that I believe is the best party in Nigeria, my opinion, in the NDC. We also had the other one that is close, what's it called? And so there is other parties, and what we're seeing is that more people are showing up to lead, and I think that is good for democracy. What we would ask is that leaders who emerge or current leaders should ensure that people are allowed to express their right. So either join any political party to express their opinion, provided it's within the ambit of the law, and to participate in a free, credible election.
For more clarity, you've mentioned that ideals pushed you to NDC, right? But when a political actor leaves a dominant party for an emerging platform, Nigerians often ask, is this principle or positioning? Will you call this just principle or positioning for yourself?
Well, I think it's more of principle, because I would say something. I didn't just resign from the APC. I resigned from the APC. I was the current minister. I was the senior technical advisor, and we didn't have a problem. And in my opinion, he's doing extremely well. In fact,
the current minister of youth.
Youth, yes. If you're outside, you might not believe this, but if you're inside and know how he has to innovate to be able to carry out programs because of the prevailing situation, he is doing extremely well. Wow. And I didn't leave him because I had any problem with him. So it means that I'm leaving a position. And that's not just only the position I leave. I was also the chairman and founder of the third or fourth most impactful support group for the Mr. President, what they call the Tinubu Impact Movement. I co-founded it with my friends. In fact, by the time I left it, we had over 70,000 members in about 34 states. And there were structures in the LGAs who were even very independent doing their. In fact, they are still doing their thing, because by the time I left, there was also a leadership vacuum, even though some people moved around with me to the NDC, right? So I didn't leave from a point of say, oh, maybe I was looking for a better position. If I remained in the APC as of today, I would have a better bargaining power, a better opportunity post the next election. 2027. But it comes a point in your life when you just get tired of what things are happening. Like, you have a lot of unanswered questions. Even someone inside, you begin to ask, like, you hear this, or the savings have made their revenue target, they've removed the subsidy, there's a lot of resources.
But then why borrowing?
But why borrowing? Not even only borrowing. Borrowing is even good. Why are you not funding? Why are you not funding your agencies? And it gets frustrating, because then you have a lot of initiatives,
that cannot be implemented.
They're not being implemented. And the person out there, your people out there who are in the local communities cannot understand. Like, sometimes people call me and say, hey, Doc, you're working with the minister, please send me this. And I tell you, I'm broke. And they don't really like, oh, how do we be working with the minister and say you're broke, right? But they won't understand that for the 18 months or 16 months, sorry, 16 months I worked there, I worked pro bono. It was completely pro bono. This is a media space. Anybody can challenge me. It was completely pro bono.
16 months?
Yes, pro bono.
So how did you fare?
So what happened was, good enough, as a public health physician, I had other consultancy I was doing. So that was those consultancy.
That you were using to?
Yes, but it was strange that I was doing a private consultancy, I used it to fund government. And what I mean fund government means that in my role, which is something I asked for, and I must say it here, so it's not like I asked for it because I felt it was something that was going to improve my professional experience, and it did, right? Because I gained experience working in public sector, right? But then the fact that you were putting your resources like you go to represent a minister, and then there is no impress back. You have to use your resources, right? And then if you are doing that and you're seeing that other activities are being funded, you can even get that, say, okay, that's my sacrifice to my nation. But when things are going very, very bad, and then the other thing that people in local communities are suffering. See, this is not about me being NDC. I see, this is not about being NDC. So if you ask someone in APC today, take him into a toilet, lock him, no CCTV camera, and ask him, how far? He will tell you that people are suffering. People are suffering. So it got to a point I couldn't take it. And I have a community who are looking up to me. What would they say to me? So that's why, so back to your question, it's not about positioning. If I wanted a position, I would have remained in the APC. But it got to a point where APC went so far from my principles and it wasn't comfortable remaining. Do
you think Nigeria is entering a true realignment at this stage?
So I mean, it's about the people. It's about the people because I've had an experience. In 2019, I attempted also to go to the House of Representatives then, and I'm reattempting that. But my experience from there shows that it's about the people. You know, in this country, Nigeria, right, we are quick to critique government, right, but to take the necessary action,
we don't.
We don't. I'll ask, I mean, a lot of people are watching this program at the moment. I'll ask you how many people have taken got your PVC. You might say, okay, at most, people are a generous number, maybe 50. But that's not the question. How many people have their PVC close to where they would be able to walk to on the election day, knowing that past elections, there is a curfew or restriction movement, right? And then if you say you want to travel to your local community, sometimes the economic realities today cannot allow you, right, to travel, right? So if you really want to make a change, this is the time to say, oh, it does seem that this government has weaponized poverty, as people have said. So if they've done that, that means on the day of election, I might not have transport to go far. Let me move my PVC to close.
And there might not be logistics.
There might be logistics, right? So, and then that is one part of it. Now, secondly, it's how many people can resist the offer, given the level of poverty or suffering people are suffering, especially in local communities. How many people can resist? Say, for example, on election day, they bring 10,000. As part of my profile, you see I did a conditional cash transfer program. And then I think we're giving about 500 and then 2,000 for the last visit just to support mothers. I know what 500 naira can do. In fact, there were communities where if you give 2,000, that 2,000 can last for 2 months. And
when was that?
Yeah, it was some, I don't want to call it part of the country. So
yes, I mean when?
When?
Because if you say 500 now, it can't do
No, it can't do. That was about, I did that program. I started working with them then, it was 2018. Okay. And I left here. So about 2 or 3 months here. But then, what I'm saying is that now if you give someone 10,000 naira in the local communities, how many people resist it? And we saw the pictures on social media. The last primaries that was done, right? How people boldly were, in fact, were tearing cartons of money. In fact, I didn't even know that the packaging has now changed. The one I saw now was a bit flat and with a white. I didn't know. And these are mean notes. So it means that there are places this money has been stacked, and people are going to bring it out in an election, allegedly. And if that's the situation, so that is why I say that it depends on the people. What I would advise everyone watching you today is that if you really want to change this country, if you really, really like, in depth of your mind, you're unhappy with the situation, it's not about shouting on social media or complaining, first of all, today, I think the process is still on to revalidate or change your PVC or get your PVC. Make sure you get your PVC. If the old location, maybe you did when you were in school or when we were living here, make sure you change the address to somewhere close to where you live. Then finally, on that election day, will they bring money? Most likely. Collect the money and vote your conscience. Because I would stay here and say, don't collect the money, because that money was money they're supposed to use and do roads, healthcare, infrastructure, build industry that would have employed a lot of people, but it was not done. So when they bring that election, I mean, it will be, I'll be doing the service to my people if I say don't collect the money, so one big political leader that also was part of the system will collect all the money and then force you, no, collect the money, but vote your conscience. But that vote is your power. If you collect that and vote other way, you still complain in the next 4 years and we'll all be here.
Do Nigerian political parties really still represent their ideas, in your opinion? Apart from the NDC, do you think other Nigerian political parties are representing their ideology, or they're just there? So
the older ones have not, and that's why you see people keep moving up and down, right? People come and say, for example, I would speak from a point of authority for the party I just left. The party preached positive change. That was the slogan. Now, forget about my opinion, what I think. I wish the phone lines were open. Would have randomly called 10 persons off the streets and just tell them, don't tell us your name, because people are also scared. Don't tell us your name. Tell us if your life has changed positively from the time APC came into power and now. Just randomly, this is a research, and you do it, and you will find out that people put up a slogan and they are not deviate from it. Now, the last one, I mean, inside the change, we had renewed hope. Renewed hope means that you had hope before, after 8 years, and your hope will be renewed. The question is the same thing. And today, I was watching the TV, and I had a new narrative that the renewed hope is a long term, which, in my own opinion, is deceitful, because you said you were going to renew hope, people's hope, and now people have followed you on that journey. After 3 years, going to 4 years, you're not telling the person, oh, the renewed hope is long, so they can give another 4 years. So what it tells you is that the political parties are not keeping to their promises. And somehow it's a bit deceptive. And that comes to the point you made when your opening speech. There's now a trust deficit, even for parties like ours, that are now new parties, clear ideology and walking the talk based on the few weeks I've stayed here. People are still doubting.
They distrust.
Yeah, because that trust, that is historical distrust, right? But for me, I am inside NDC, and I've seen them, and I strongly believe, because they are walking the talk. And I'm going to say that if tomorrow, after a long time, they are not winning, I'm not going to go back to APC. I know people, the next people say, I'll go back. No. Instead, I would go back to my
medical career.
No, my public health career. Because even what I've seen is that this last 16 months, I served in the government. Although I've got a professional experience as a public sector experience, but financially,
you're strained.
I'm strained because actually I had to leave another consultancy to make space for that appointment I did. And all I'm saying in the media is anyone can verify it. I left it just because I felt, okay, I would sacrifice, I would. And in fact, it got so bad. Like, the thing is it's not about people who are serving appointment, but even the support groups under the APC are bleeding. It's so bad. Like, my support group, literally, I was funding with my friends. In fact, I recall that when I was in the APC, we had a support group that was started as a very big, in fact, there was a pool that was done. We came third as the most impactful behind the likes of City Boy. But you can't believe that it was people, they were just putting their resources together to kind of push and support that. And at that point, in fact, it got one day that was something interesting happened. The office where we do the meeting, the guy is into contract. One day he said he was going to chase us out. That's how can he be supporting a government that's owing him close to 3 billion, and all his assets are being, the bank are trying to take his assets and all that. So that's why even this election is going to be extremely funny, because people you think are actually supporting, it's as if they are just every day. I mean, I think it's part of this renewed hope. I think that somehow the ruling party keeps putting hope. The renewed hope is not the hope of the people. I think it's like hope of their supporters to say, okay, let's keep going, to be good. And people do, until people get to a point like me, get tired, they drop off. And that's why I said 2027, there might be surprises.
There might be. And in Nigeria, you're not allowed to not expect surprises. If a young Nigerian is watching you today and mention that all political parties are the same, what will be your response?
I'll tell you that don't give up yet, because obviously what option do you have if you give up? If you give up, things continue going bad. Just believe that there is something different is happening at this point. The good enough is that there are new political parties. Let me not be sentimental about the NDC I belong, because you will say, okay, because you're a member, you know about it. But take your time and look at the manifesto. Go to the good enough, all the political parties now have a website, or most of the big ones. Read about them. If you don't see a manifesto to download, go to the About section of the political party. You would see their mandates, you see their vision, their mission, their principles, right? What are the core areas they are interested in and what they want to do, right? Study it. And then it's also important to note that a party is made up of people, right? So if you say, oh, because a party has a manifesto, I'll get in and then wait for the party to achieve its manifesto. No. Remember that party is that party because you're of its member. So what you would do is that when you see a manifesto that aligns with your values, like I've seen that mine aligns with the NDC, go inside and participate, right? Try to hold that party accountable. And I'll tell you that tomorrow, even as a member of NDC, when we win in 2027 and they are misbehaving, I'll hold them accountable. I'm not going to be...
I was going to come to that,
yes.
That sometimes you see manifesto on the website or on paper, but when it comes to embodying it in real life, it's not there. Like you've mentioned, change with the APC, but we're not seeing the change. So it sometimes goes beyond what you see until you go inside and
so the people in the party should hold their leaders to account, yeah? And that's something we need to do, and that's what I will tell every young person watching me today. Don't give up. Identify a political party and be a member, and while you're in, do your best, contribute your best, and then hold your party accountable. And I also know that it's not everyone that will choose to be a member of a political party. What is important for every single young person, adult, old person watching is, please make sure you get your PVC. That is the power you have. Make sure it's close to where you can walk down on election day. And then finally, on that election day, no matter what incentive or gratification they give to you, vote your conscience, because there's no gift that is given to you that will worth the suffering for the next 4 years.
4 years. In one sentence, what is the biggest political signal Nigerians should not ignore before 2027? The biggest political signal we should not ignore before 2027?
I think the signal is the alignment of movements.
Alignment of movements.
The alignment of movements, because politically goes beyond the elections, right? If you're seeing movements come together, it's a signal that you need to watch out, because it's not only that these movements would ensure mass voting for a political party, but it means that these movements will watch the vote, right? And that is the difference between a state like Kano and other states, right? But then when such movements are colliding with other movements, and they will teach them the Kano secret, and then they're able to replicate it across the country, those that are planning to rig the election, please be on the watch out.
That's really interesting. Stay with us, because when politicians move, the story is not only about them, it is about the system that makes movement necessary, profitable, or inevitable. After the break, we'll examine party weakness, ideology, and why Nigeria's democracy keeps producing political migration. Stay with us. We'll be right back. If you're just joining us, it's still S24 Insight on S24 Television. Now, let's talk about political parties. In theory, parties should stand for ideas, economic policy, social values, governance philosophy, national development plans, etc. in practice, many Nigerians see parties as vehicles for winning power alone. Doctor, let's go back to this conversation in full gear, and it's about ideology. If APC, PDP, Labour Party, etc., were placed side by side, what truly separates them beyond logos?
I think it's the fidelity, because the question is, who amongst them have you given an opportunity to prove that they can, or people can trust their manifesto? Because every political party, before you register, you must have a manifesto.
Yes.
So across board, they have a manifesto. And as you rightly said, across board, they have a logo. Across board, they have a name. But then what differentiates them is that some have had the opportunity to prove themselves. And we have seen how much they've done. Some have not had the opportunity. Now, that's one. The other aspect also, the flip side, is based on the trust deficit you mentioned, those who have not had the opportunity to prove themselves, how can you trust them vis-a-vis the ones that have not been able to prove themselves when given the opportunity? So that's the difference. But as citizens, that is where we need to then interrogate these parties. As elections are coming up, I would request citizens to ask hard questions and then not only take answers for what they are, because those answers were given in the past and people...
Oh, they're given on a surface level.
On a surface level, yeah. It's also important to then ask for proof, right? The good thing is that all political parties might not have had experience to prove themselves, but the aspirants within them should have had one opportunity or the other to prove themselves, either in their public life or in their professional lives, right? That is why today I'm coming up to present myself to represent my people in the federal constituency, in Mbitoli Keduru, Imo State. Now, I will expect them to ask me those hard questions, right? What have you done? Is it the library in those two local governments? Is it the agricultural empowerment? Is it the youth empowerment initiatives? Is it the opportunities that I've passed on to our people, even as a private citizen, right? How much have I used my public health experience to help my people, right? So with those history of achievements, that is why I am confident to come out to want to represent my people. So that's the kind of question
that Nigerians should be asking.
Yes. And then also, beyond your history, what would you do in clear terms, and how would you do it? Right? I was in the Ministry of Youth Development, supporting the Minister of Youth Development. With zero budget, we were able to advance youth health through the Yo Health Initiative. Yo Health Initiative, it's not in the budget. But we started it up, we launched it at the Hilton. We were able to carry out initiatives, including the World Menstrual Day Hygiene. And I was leading that, supporting the minister. What did I do? I had to mobilize resources based on my previous work experience.
And goodwill.
And goodwill, yeah. So that is some questions you need to ask your representative, that in life, as in business and everything, even in your family, you might not have all the resources to do everything. How would you? It's not just about to say, I will build roads, I would build hospitals, I'll give free education, health insurance coverage is going to increase. The question is how? How, right? So that's also something I want to speak to everyone watching us today. Please ask hard questions. And for example, good enough, we live in an age where you don't even have to go far. If for any reason you don't know the right questions to ask, go to your AI, right, and ask and say, for a government or a country where historically politicians have been deceptive, have failed on their promises, what kind of questions will I use, can I ask them to make sure that their answers will expose those who are not honest? Don't worry, the AI will give you some hard questions. And when you ask, please listen, because sometimes we ask questions, we don't listen. And politicians have an expertise, like my rolling ears. So when you ask, listen carefully, and then when you're not getting the answer, stick on that answer until shamefully they leave the stage.
That's a lot to digest. From your experience over a decade in the political space, why do Nigerian political parties struggle to build internal democracies? Because now we've seen what's going on with primaries, people feeling like they were sidelined, etc. Why is it difficult for parties to build internal democracies? And from your point of view right now as NDC member, is there internal democracy with you? So it's two sides of the question.
Yes. So in terms of internal democracy, I'm seeing internal democracy in the NDC. But it's also important to say that right now with the presidential candidates, we are seeing a lot of now influx of different politicians into even in the NDC.
With different interests.
With different interests. And not just different interests, it's also different ideology. Right? They are now, that's also something about political parties. It's like the, I mean, I don't want to sound so religious, but it's like the, I would say the followers of any of the major religions. Like, I'm a Christian, I would say the apostles. In there, you saw those that were very good and stayed to the end. Some people were there to steal from the purse and eventually committed. Yeah. So in the political party, what we are saying now is that there's influx of different set of people who believe in the ideology of service to the people, and some people who do not believe. In fact, there are some people who, and I will speak to the state where I came from, people who are even coming in to ensure that they destabilize the party so that the ruling party will win. There are even some other group that are coming in because the election in Imo is off-cycle in 2028, so they want to come and destabilize to ensure that they have a fair chance. So you're seeing a different lot of interest, right?
That's interesting.
That's interesting. So that's what you see in a political party, right? But internal democracy works when you stick to your manifesto and your principles. If you say that, like the APC, the NDC is a party that is built on integrity. Integrity means that you say you do something,
you must do it.
You must do it irrespective of
whatever challenge is.
You must do it, right? So I mean that is what parties need to do. Stick to your principles, your founding principles, irrespective of what, because would a lot of people come, yes, for every party you see the good, the bad, the ugly, right? But then if you stick to your principles, then everybody will either align or get out.
Yeah, so what should a serious party manifesto look like in 2027?
So, I mean, a serious party will look at what are the core issues that are affecting the country today. I mean, I would say one would be economy. People who want to say emotionally will say, oh, it's security. But I believe that the security situation we're facing today is a fallout of the economic situation, partly a fallout of the other drivers. But I mean, likely, if we get this country running the way it should, there's a lot of industries, people are able to get decent jobs, right? People do not struggle to make ends meet, like they have at least the minimum to eat, even though it's just 2 square meals. Now people are struggling to have 1 meal, right? So a lot of people will not be attracted to criminality, right? And then if you also get then apart from economy, right? So we have to get the economy right. And the things you need to do, it's not rocket science. It requires someone who has genuine love for this country, who then decides to be selfless, and then who has a clear vision on what you need to do. Even if you don't have a clear knowledge, you are maybe a third class, or you don't have a financial...
That doesn't matter, I believe.
All you need to do is to put together the right team, right? You put together the right team. We've had in the past where Nigerian financial ministers or leaders went off to lead renowned financial institutions in the world.
Yes.
So if you put the right...
proud of that.
Yeah, you put the right team in place, you hold everyone to account. One of the problem we had in the APC in the first 8 years was that there was zero accountability. People could do whatever they want to do. Nobody get away with it. But if you hold people to account, like I appoint you, I have my 12-man list, minister list, or 20-man, whatever it is. I give them a clear vision, say, tell me this is my vision for the country. Now develop your plans, right? strategic plans to align this vision. Break it down into 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and then at the end of the term, right? Give me markers of failures and markers of success,
and
rather.
Failure as well.
Yes, I would generate markers of failure as the leader, right? Give me the markers of failure, success, markers of success, right? And then tell me at 3 months, 6 months. I give you 3 months, you're not working. 6 months, I issue you in football, what they call a yellow card, right? And at the 9th month, the indicators are not there, I fire you. By the time you do that to 3 or 4 persons, and people see.
People will sit up.
People will sit up. And then also it talks about corruption. One of the things that is killing us in this country is corruption. And corruption is not just about stealing. The markup for contracts is just so much.
It's so much.
It's so much. People can dip their hands. There are no consequences for action. In fact, most of the problems we have in this country is consequence of no consequences, right? The moment you get things right, you will see that. So these are the things that people need to put. Then also insecurity, right? Because as I said, it's not just about corruption and economy that is the cause of insecurity. There are other things you need to put right. I'm not someone that critique everything about an opposition as an opposition politician. This government, they talked about community or state policing. That's good. But do you have the leadership, the political will to bring it to pass, right? There have been conversations around leveraging ICT. In fact, I think the last event that happened in Jos, they were like, oh, they're going to put CCTV everywhere. Has that been done? In the age we live today, if you want to depend on the number of soldiers, police, or navy you need to
secure, arrival.
No, you need to use technology. That's the superpowers. That's what they are using, right? So you need also to deal with security, and all this requires political will, a leader who is selfless. Because I'll tell you the truth, if you're not selfless, no matter your best vision in this country, you will not do well, because people are going to try to. If you try to put your interest, it means you're not going to select the best. If you're going to put your interest, it means that you're going to inflate.
And that will be difficult.
That will be difficult to meet all your revenue plans, right? And then, because if you're selfish and you begin to collect here and here, people are going to blackmail you, right? So it requires a leader. The next president of this country needs to be someone who is selfless, who have a clear vision, who has the heart
to actually work for people.
To work for the people. And you're going to do that knowing that at the end, I might not get a lot. At the end, I might not even be re-elected, because I'm going to step on the toes of the political class, right? But at the end of 4 years, I will beat my chest and I say that the lives of people
were changed.
And people are better off than 4 years.
That's really very interesting and germane, but there is another force in this conversation that we need to address. The voter. Nigeria's political class is moving, but many citizens are withdrawing, like you've mentioned in our conversation. And that may be the most dangerous realignment of all. So in this part, we're going to talk about the silent majority, why citizens are withdrawing, and it's very important. We'll take a few questions from that perspective and go to talking to you personally on what you intend to do for your people, because I'm sure that we would also hold you like this to what you promised to do for people. Nigeria had more than 93 million registered voters before, and I tell you, that was ahead of 2023 elections, but turnout was about 26.7%. I mentioned that earlier. That means tens of millions were registered, but absent from the final act of democracy, that's voting. And you've mentioned something, Jamin, still in our conversation, that people should get their PVCs. For instance, my maybe polling unit is somewhere in another state, but I've tried multiple times to change from 2023 to 2022 to date. It's been a very difficult task. It will show me on the internet that that's successful, but getting it in real life was not there. What do you think voters should do to move away from that discouragement that you try and you're not able to get your voter's card?
So I think it's something I've done so well in my work in public health is advocacy. I mean, rather than shouting, I mean, people need to be more strategic, right? As I talked about, trying to take your PVC close to where it can work. It's also, if you find out that the system in place, because Nigeria is such a country where leaders are not building strong systems that outlive them, but rather build a system around themselves. So if you feel that the ruling class is building a system that does not allow a lot of people to take these things close to themselves or even get their PVC, that is something you need to be shouting now in the social media and the media space. Not need to start shouting corruption, all those things they are true, but it's more like a spent force, like you've been what you need to do is that there's an uproar that makes sure that INEC starts quickly to make sure that people who are applied for change of voting booths is done immediately, right? So that's the kind of advocacy we should be seeing in the media. But I mean, that is just one part of it, which is that bureaucratic bottlenecks that are, I would say, sometimes intentionally or unintentionally put in place to make sure that people do not come out en masse. Because obviously, if people come out en masse to vote in this election, I would say that the ruling class will lose the election. There is no, I've done my polls, anybody can do their polls, but we need to now start shouting on the media space, like shouting to say, please, we cannot change our polling booth where we will vote, and on the voting day, you would stop restrict movement. So please address that. By the time there's an uproar, the INEC will quickly do that. But then also, it's also something to encourage those watching today. I know that historically, there have been distrust. I mean, the last election, we saw how a lot of people came out because of the innovation, the IRF innovation. And after Victoria, because a lot of people now came out for the presidential. What I would tell our viewers today is, don't give up. Because like, if you give up, what other options? We see what's happening in other countries, right? The best place you have is your country. So please step out, right? Ensure if there is any bottleneck, shout in the media until it's corrected. On election day, when they tell you that your vote will not count, come out. Good enough, you have good alternatives. And if you don't know, come to our party. We have a best presidential candidate in P2P.
Oh, it's okay for you to say that you're a member of the NDC. Yeah. Yes, so now, what do you think we must do between now and 2027 to really bring the silent majority back into civic participation? So there are people who will get their voters card, but they've lost hope in the system entirely. What should we do to bring them out of that cocoon?
I think we've lost the first best opportunity, which was the Electoral Act when it was amended, right? We should have strengthened, not weakened, the role of ICT, right? Because as I said, like when I traveled and you're driving on the highway in most of these countries, right? In the past, you have, like we have in Nigeria, people have to flag you off if you beat the traffic, right? Now, that is prone to a lot of corruption. And corruption is not only in Nigeria.
It's everywhere.
What those countries have done is that they put speed cameras. They put cameras that if you beat the traffic, it automatically gives you. So there is no need for you to go and say, oh, I beg, make I give you something. No. The moment it goes straight to your post box and you get it. And if you don't, so that's something we need to do. We missed that opportunity. But then what can we do? Because I won't want people to be hopeless. I think that we need to begin to continue to hold our government account to ensure that they remove any bureaucratic process that is preventing people from getting their PVCs or moving their PVCs to where that they can access easily on election day. We need to also make sure that if those bottlenecks are removed, we ensure that we take that necessary action to get our PVC ready. We need to critique the political parties and the aspirants and make a decision ahead of time. We need to become resilient and speak to ourselves that irrespective of the gratification, we vote our conscience. This needs to happen before, because if you wait on that election day, you might fall into the temptation, right? So you need to prepare. And on that election day, please prepare ahead of time. You might have to put your water kit, a food flask, because this election is going to be different from other elections. If you really want to see change happen, it means that when you're going, you have to carry your backpack, if you can, with your lunch, with your water, and you're going to seek out, you vote and you will not leave. You make sure that what is added to the result sheet is the right figure, because that's the only way. You have to vote and protect your vote and make sure your vote counts, because it's one of the most important decisions you make
4 years.
For 4 years. And if you look at what has happened in the last 4 years, last 8 years, last 12 years, you know that it's even more important, I would say, in more than even the job you are looking for, the spouse you're looking for those that are married, because the government will determine if you have the resources or you have the opportunity to even achieve all those things.
That family. Thank you so much. And now let's go deeper, because 2027 will not only be fought at polling units, the menace of the social media. It will be fought on phones, WhatsApp groups, podcasts, radio, television, TikTok, etc. And the battlefield is the election day, right? So what do you think, in your opinion, are Nigerian voters supposed to do to get themselves really prepared? Because it goes beyond word of mouth. We can say prepare, prepare, prepare. Beyond word of mouth, what should we be telling Nigerians to do to prepare for that 2027? For instance, there are people that cannot even afford 1 square meal. You expect that person to go to polling units? There are people who maybe are managing one health situation or the other. They can't even afford medicine. Would they go out to vote? So what should we be telling them to do precisely before 2027 to prepare themselves, whether economically, whether physically, etc.?
See, this is a situation that I would call a war situation in quotes. When I say a war situation, is that it's a situation whereby if you don't take action, whatever suffering you're suffering now, in the next 4 years, you'll be suffering pro max. So, even though it means you cross new leadership, good leadership, please do it. Because, I mean, a lot of people have said, and allegedly, that the entire economic situation we're seeing now is intentional. I don't know, because I'm not among those who made them put the situation where it is there. But some people have alleged that it is intentional to make sure that people are so poor and so hungry that whatever they give them, they will not, they would accept and vote, or they can't even come to the polling booth, and then there will be voter party, and then they will then use their number, since the polling booth already has that number, and then manipulate the results. So, in a situation when you are at war, when you are, I mean war, not physical war, when you are in anything serious in life, and you have to fight a context, or you're up against your oppressor, you need to know the tactics and prepare. So everyone watching out there, I will tell you today, if allegedly this is their plan, please activate option B. And option B will mean that if it means you saving and putting it in a piggy box, the money you use and buy your water and food that you use that day and eat and make sure you vote, it's better to save. In fact, that's the best saving you will do in your life, because imagine you save, let me say, 1,000 naira or 2,000 or 3,000 that you use that day to vote out bad leadership. And that means that in the next 4 years, they're going to build an industry that will give you job, and you'll be earning not even the mega 70,000, but you'll be earning about 150, 200, or 300. Imagine what 3,000 savings would bet 300,000 in terms of monthly revenue for you. Or it means that you can travel from here without worrying about insecurity, and you don't have to enter flight. You can actually drive down and you will feel safe. Imagine what. So when you look at if you wait, it's worth any sacrifice you make today to ensure that, see, this election, you're going there to vote out good leadership, bad leadership, or voting good leadership. It's worth any sacrifice.
This part is personal to you, and because you're aspiring for a position, and it's very important. We want to know, what will you do for your people differently?
If you allow me, I would like to even speak in Igbo. I'm like Yesu and Igbo because name represents Ndi Igbo, but because I know that the audience is diverse, so I would speak in English, and maybe sometime I'll mix it up also with Igbo.
It's okay. I'm sure that yes. the Igbo audience will understand.
Or maybe I'll summarize in Igbo, right? Yes. So first is that I want to go and represent my people, to be their voice. I come from a community, and when people call me, when I visit, there's a lot of poverty. A lot of our young people are now into either betting or drugs, some into prostitution, and some are just wandering around not knowing where the next meal will come. I believe that good legislation can help solve this. So that's where I'm going to make sure that we have good legislation in health that ensures quality access to health care, in education that ensures that everyone at least have the PRS education that they need to live a better life, to get a decent job. We have a legislation that ensures there is industrialization, there is more job, that this country is safe for everyone, there is decent transport, right? So those legislations, it's something that I will go in and ensure, and I will not it's easy to come in and say, this is the exact legislation. No, it will be based on the need assessment to understand what are the needs, what are those gaps, right, based on existing laws, and then we'll propose legislation, right? That's one part. The other part is oversight, right? Now, as a legislator, you need to hold the MDAs into account, right? If you have a budget to do this, and it's even in my federal constituency, right, you have to do it. I mean, you'll be a member of the committee, so you might oversee in other places, but for those in my federal constituency, you have to do it. It's not business as usual before that the money will get missing. No, you have to do it, right? And then if there are constituency projects that I need to oversee, it would happen. I won't be like the ones representatives we've seen in the past, that they would not do anything in the last 2 months. The last 2 months before election, they would use maybe the last 2 months for election and buy a lot of things and then do media shows. Some of them, after the media is off, they will take them back and promise people that, oh, they are trying to listen. We've seen that happen. Even in my federal constituency, I was asking my people the other day, and they're like, those things you saw in the media, we didn't eventually get it. They say that the crowd was too much and that they would come back with it. And up till now, we're waiting for the motorcycles, we're waiting for the sewing machine and all that. We're here to see it. Yeah, so I will not be that leader. I'll be a leader.
So what would you do differently? That's and because the 10th assembly or from the 8th assembly, people believe that the assembly is rubber stamp. So what if you don't get?
No, I won't be that. My presidential aspirant will win, and good enough, he talks, and he has made a lot of promises. We're documenting those promises. I'll hold him to account. I'll also ensure that my people get opportunities, right, that are due. I'm here in Abuja, they are in Imo State. I would make sure that opportunities from the federal government get to my people. So in summary, what I have said, Una, this opportunity can represent here, and hopefully I will, because of Otun Hachi. Like I'll speak for them. I'll be their voice. From the federal, we'll get those dividends back to them, right? The opportunities, and I may make sure that I'm connected with them. I'll be in connection with them. I'll be such that every quarter would have constituency meetings. It's easy to expect that you know everything that your people need. But if you constantly keep in touch with them, you understand what is the real needs that they have, and then be able to meet their needs in terms of the laws, in terms of your oversight when you know the ministries. And then I'm also someone that will ensure that beyond my federal constituency, I will bring my experience. I've had a lot of experience supporting policymakers in public health, right, and also in other development aspects. I will bring those experiences, not just my federal constituency, but to ensure that this country, all of us, will have a better quality of life.
Thank you so much. And before we go, we've been talking and talking. There is a segment we do called Rapid Fire. You give short answers, yes or no, and so we call it a wrap there. Let's start with this. Dr. Ibrahim, ideology or survival?
Ideology.
And defection or realignment?
Realignment.
Why? Because it took you time before you responded.
So I'm looking at defection. Defection is shallow. Realignment means that I had a different ideology. I saw a party with a different ideology. I'm aligning with that correct ideology that aligns my value.
So party structure or citizen structure?
I mean, I would say, in what context? Because these are two.
Citizens structure is when, for instance, let's give the police, I think, community policing or state policing in context. People have been yearning for that, and that's what they believe in, and maybe political party part of structure. So in that regard.
So in that regard, I'll go with the people, because no matter what political party community, it's all about the people. The people make up the party, the community, and any structure.
Beavers or public trust?
Public trust, because public trust goes beyond bidders.
Debate or rally?
Oh, debate.
One reform INEC must not postpone.
Use of ICT in a way that it's not prone to human manipulations.
One word for Nigeria's democracy today?
It's evolving, and we're at a better place than we were in the past.
And one word for what it can become?
it can be the greatest institution that would hold leaders to account.
Thank you so much, Dr. Obinna. It's been insightful talking to you, and we hope that we'll call you in the near future. Nearest future, and you still join us again, whether on Spotlight or any of our programs. Thank you so much.
Yes, please. Thank you so much.
And this is what we call it a wrap on this show. We've talked about movement and a lot of things, but movement is not always progress. In our context, a defection can be a sign of outrage. It can also be a sign of calculation. A new party can be a vehicle for reform. It can also become another waiting room for ambition. A young voter can be angry online, but anger without organization does not question. Not just who is moving, but why are they moving? Not just who will win, but what kind of democracy will survive the contest? Because at this stage in our life, we need to do better as a nation. Because when citizens stop trusting the ballots, democracy does not collapse in one day. It begins to empty quietly. So today, we leave you with this question. If Nigeria's political class is already preparing for 2027, what are citizens doing to prepare for the democracy they say they want? I am Halima Abdurrauf, and this is S24 Insight. Bye for now.